This is the Drive Time News Hour. Gil Gross, we every once in a while get an opportunity to chat with him. He is going to be hosting. He is hosting on Monday at 1 o'clock here on KFGO, the Labor Day special. I wanted to make sure we got him before he went off Labor Daying here and wouldn't have to get in his way. And, you know, the credentials of this fellow here, you heard him frequently filling in for Charles Osgood. He also was a substitute host for Paul Harvey. He was much awarded, and these CBS specials are tremendous. I don't have time to read your entire credentials, but welcome back to KFGO.
You're welcome, Jack, and thank goodness I'm sick of hearing of my past too.
Well, I read it all. It's good to have you here. I hear tell on Labor Day that you're going to be talking about unions and Jimmy Hoffa and child labor and also the mascots. But let's sports mascots. That sounds interesting. Can you tell me about that first? Let's have our let's eat the frosting on the cake first. The sports mascot.
Yeah, let's do the silly part. This has turned into a huge business. There were always sports mascots. They were generally volunteers, or for big league clubs, they were, an employee who, put on a costume or something. That all changed with Ted Giannoulis, who became the KGB chicken. Nothing to do with the Soviet spies, had to do with the San Diego radio station with those call letters. And Ted, unlike most mascots, was entertaining.
Yeah, he was great.
He was fabulous. He did all these comic bits. He was kind of a one-off until the Philly Fanatic. And what happened with the Philly Fanatic was that somebody went to a woman who created characters for Jim Henson's Muppets. And the Phillies said, hey, can you make us something that'll be as much fun as the San Diego Chicken? She made the Philly Fanatic. And out of that became a multi-million-dollar business. Sports mascots are a huge business. And, there's hundreds of them now. The major league ones make a lot of money. The ones in minor league teams, not so much. But still, it's become this huge business. And there's, because it's not just the mascot itself, there's all kinds of novelties and things that are sold with images of the mascot. It's a job. That's why it's part of the Labor Day special. It's the job that you never thought of when you were a little kid and you were thinking, I want to be an astronaut or a firefighter. You rarely said, and, I want to be the San Diego Chicken. But whoever that is in that costume these days is doing pretty well.
My dad was not famous for laughing, but I took him to an FM Redhawks game, and Ted Giannoulis, the San Diego Chicken, as he became known eventually,
right,
made Dad laugh hilariously. And I wish I had pictures of that because he almost had tears streaming down his face. Now, what new are you going to tell us, or what are you going to refresh us on with Jimmy Hoffa on the Labor Day special?
Well, we're actually doing a lot on the Labor Day special, which is, different. But unions are making a huge comeback. Just a decade ago, only 30% of Americans had a positive attitude about unions. And it was creeping up like every 2 or 3 years. Now it's up to 70%, 70%. So we go into, what's happened, what's changed. But to set that up, we also have to get into how unions fell out of favor in the first place. And there were a couple of things. One, they fought technology, which destroyed a lot of businesses and didn't save any jobs. But the other part of it was, of course, that some unions, not most, only about 1%, but some, and they made headlines like the Teamsters, became infiltrated by the mob and became racketeering places. The Teamsters are the most famous. So we go into Jimmy Hoffa with investigative reporter Dan Moldia, who's done more work on Hoffa's story, what happened to Hoffa, and all of that than anybody else. It's a fascinating story and gives you a picture of what unions had to fight back from, which took decades, and how they've changed to get where they are right now.
My dad, he comes up again. He used to describe, he described Democrats and Republicans this way. He said, with all due respect to Teamsters and bankers, he says, well, the Democrats are Teamster thugs, and the Republicans are banker thieves. So, and I'm sure I'll have to apologize to both factors tonight at Duffy's, but doesn't matter.
Well, maybe, but here's the thing about Democrats and the Teamsters. Remember, it's the Democrats that fought the Teamsters. It was Robert F. Kennedy, when he was Attorney General under JFK, who wrote what was a bestseller about Teamster corruption called The Enemy Within. Part of that led to a very interesting thing, not normal for unions. Usually Democrats support unions, Republicans not so much. But because of what happened with Hoffa and the Teamsters and Robert F. Kennedy, the Teamsters, trying to get RFK off of Hoffa's back, made a deal with Nixon. Nixon actually commuted the sentence of Hoffa, probably the worst thing that ever happened to him because he might have lived to a ripe old age if he had not gotten out of prison. That said, Nixon commuted his sentence, and in exchange, the Teamsters supported Nixon. So
wow.
It's an interesting political story there.
Well, we've seen it all, haven't we, Gil? Gil
Yep.
Gross, also on the CBS Labor Day special, will have a segment on child labor laws and child labor in the U.S., but we'll have to wait until Monday at 1 o'clock for that. Gil, thank you very much, and we can't wait to talk to you again in the future.
You got it, Jack. Take care.
Gil Gross with us here on the Mighty 790 KFGO.